getting the people going. We've kind of seen various renditions of that, even the messaging. Ultimately, need a plan of action and some kind of execution with specifics. I'm curious for you, what does that look like? What does protecting the vote at national level look like? If you were to get into power, what does sort of economic independence look like? And maybe if you can provide, I don't know, any policies you have in mind, any anecdotal evidence, or just any sort of specific plans that you actually have in mind. Once, at some point, once you're done, you're preaching to a choir, and then you execute. So I'm curious what that execution looks like for you.
Thank you very much. I'll take it that those are two questions. One, how we plan to protect the vote at the national level, and our basic policy, what we plan to do when we take power. Not if, but when. First of all, we have tried it in the past, like you saw in this video, and many other happenings that have not been on camera, to protect the vote, well knowing that the regime back home is a master at vote rigging, is to sensitize the public. This is not a job for only the politicians or the leaders, but the entire society. We have tried it in Chadolo East, where I was running for parliament, and we've tried it in 5 other by-elections. Sensitizing people and people taking charge of guarding their vote has always been our answer. While we know that President Museveni and his regime continues to use the military, still our effort has been to galvanize the people. But this time, to make it at a national level, we have called for unity, to make sure all of us are the forces of change. And by forces of change, I mean all opposition political parties, the civil society organizations that are advocating for change. We are planning to come together. We are in advanced stages of our initiative of bringing all forces of change together. We might not certainly bring 100% of them, but I'm sure if we manage to come substantially together, we'll be able to get the vote, and yes, we will win and we'll be announced winners. Now, what happens when we take power? When I am president of Uganda, there's so many things that we intend to change, but first, we want to put an end to gun rule and to elevate the voice of the people. We want it to be like all other countries where the will of the people reigns supreme, where leaders are truly servants of the people, and the people of the country are the bosses. We want to reinvent the rule of law and elevate the observation of human rights, because that has been a challenge, and even myself and many other leaders that I work with have been victims of that, so that we want to change. We want to change our education system. You notice that back in Uganda, education in a great way is training only employees, is training job seekers and not job creators. We want to empower our education system. If I'm to talk a little deeply about our education, I envision 3 A's in our education. The academics, the arts, and the athletics. And we want to give them equal attention, because I'm personally not an academic, but it is the arts that transformed my life. And there are so many youths out there that are not necessarily academics in the ghetto, but they could transform not only themselves, but their communities through the arts or the athletics. You notice that Ugandans are extraordinarily talented in the athletics. So if we put a touch of education and polish our athletics, it would be amazing. We want to change our healthcare system. It disturbs me so much to see us lose 19 women every day giving birth. It puzzles me so much to see us lose more than 300 children every day under the age of 5 dying. We can stop that. We can invest in our healthcare system, just as per the Abuja Declaration that was pushing for the elevation of the health budget. We want, of course, well knowing that I come from a country called the Pearl of Africa, the most beautiful part of Africa. Not only beautiful, but fertile. We can potentially be the food basket of the entire region if we invest in our agriculture and research enough about it. And that also includes our revising our land policy to see that we empower people to invest realistically in mechanized agriculture. Right now, as we speak, those that rule over us have literally taken over the land of the people. There are massive land evictions, while the family of the president and those hangers-on around the president own land way in their miles. We are an endowed country. We are rich, I must say. We got oil, we got minerals. We want to have policies that focus the benefit of those natural resources of the country to benefit. And finally, and very importantly, because we live in a deeply, deeply divided country along tribal lines, along religious lines, along class and income, along political leanings, we want to initiate a truth and reconciliation initiative to make sure we bring our nation together, our young nation together, so that we have a foundation of an everlasting stability and peace as a country.
Excuse me. Let somebody else go first.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Hi. So, Jeremy.
Wow.
My name is Paul Katanga. I came to the US last year to do a master's program. I come from Kisoro. And I have just two questions. One question is, for the last elections, I've been traveling from Kampala to go to Kisoro to vote for the position, right? And I worry because at the moment what we tend to see is that there is no coordination amongst the opposition. That's my impression that's there. And most of us, including young people that I see, have sort of lost hope in terms of participating in voting, because you vote and something else happens. So what confidence can we get if we are to think about, going through the system, like the real electoral system? We have confidence that actually we can change things back in the country. That's one. Two, when I came here in the US, one of the questions that I've struggled to answer is this question of, do you plan to go back home? Like all my friends, people that I come across, ask this question, do you actually plan to go back? It's a big puzzling question for me in terms of looking at the future. Do I have a Uganda that I can be proud of? Do I have an opportunity to go back and get a job? Do I have an opportunity to actually get what is worth a graduate of Yale University when I get it? So I think it's a big question, not just for young people that are here, but also even young people that are back home. They have actually opportunities to grow and flourish back in the country.
Thank you very much. You see, I told you Ugandans are smart. They ask very interesting questions. These are two questions. One is about coordination and whether you will come back to Uganda. I would love to ask you that question when we're out of this room. Now, about the coordination, it's very true we didn't have enough coordination in the beginning. But like you said, you've been a few months away from Uganda. Allow me to bring you up to speed. Our initial stage was to wake up the people, to open their eyes to the reality, because many of our brothers and sisters in Uganda were actually slaves in their own country, and they could not see that. By now, I'm glad to inform you that the vast majority of Ugandans have their eyes open. About coordination, we a few months ago unveiled our national coordinators. We continue to unveil coordinators on district level up to constituency level. We want to have coordinators not only up to village level, but up to household level. Recently, we launched a students' movement because the students themselves in Uganda also have their own constituency. We launched a women's movement, and they're all working well because we are working from different fronts. We are of the vision that by the time we get to elections, we have coordination in every part of the country, and that would be the most effective way of, protecting the vote and making sure the voice of the people reigns supreme. Now, about if a graduate of Yale University is going to come back home to a Uganda that is misgoverned, to a Uganda where there's no respect for human rights and the rule of law, to a Uganda where corruption is the order of the day, to a Uganda where there's no free speech, no freedom of expression, no freedom of association. That's a question that you and I as Ugandans must answer, and we must answer it practically. Man, I'm an artist, a superstar in Uganda that is not allowed to perform. The Constitution guarantees my fundamental rights to earn a living, but I cannot, and we have to fix that, me and you. So that's a question for us to answer. I would say that the United States, Europe, and indeed many other developed countries are filled with our resourceful people that would help transform the destiny of Uganda. But we can only do that if we decide to get involved. So yes, many professionals are coming back home. Many are joining us in the struggle. Many are doing what they can do in the countries where they are. But we know that ultimately, after we overcome this, our mission is to repatriate all of you resourceful people so we can work together and build a country that we shall all be proud of.
Yes.
Hi, thank you for being here. My name is Nadira, and I'm a senior at Yale. You earlier said it's not a question of if, but when. And what makes you think that this election is going to be different from last ones? And also, what makes you think that your president's going to step down, even if it's a fair election and someone else wins?
Well, first and foremost, it's not an issue of the president stepping down. It's an issue of the voice of people being louder and more assertive than the force of the guns and individual power of the president. Now, what is going to make this election different? First of all, allow me to point out the main different land-shifting factors. Like never before, President Museveni has never faced a challenge from our generation. Uganda is a country that has more than 80% of its population under the age of 30, and yes, 85% under the age of 35. We are the youngest population in the world, and not only young, but more connected and more dynamic. We are more united than ever before. We've always been divided along tribes and all that I've talked about, but that's the older generation, not our generation. Our generation is more united by the challenges that we go through every day, that don't care your tribe or your gender. We all face it the same. And yes, we're more united by the aspirations that we have as a generation. So we believe that there is going to be a massively different style of voting. We have, for close to a year now, been calling upon Ugandans to massively register, because we believe that the only way we are going to win this fight is by knockout. And by knockout, I mean we want to overwhelm President Museveni. Since we started advocating for Ugandans, especially young people, to get involved and to register as voters, a record 3 million people have registered, new voters have registered, and many continue to register. So we believe that by 2021, the voters that will have registered alone will be overwhelming, and that is going to substantially change the dynamics of the election. So we believe that and many other factors are going to cause the change that we want. I am going to represent my generation, which generation has been effectively mobilized to look at things the way they are, to get involved themselves, and yes, to seek 21st century solutions for 21st century problems by 21st century people, which is none but ourselves. Now, about whether President Museveni will concede defeat or not, we wait to cross that bridge when we get there.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Legal President, for being here. My name is Wainaina James, and I'm not Ugandan, but I'm from the other country that is working for the Uganda, and that is Kenya. And my question is, the one reason why you inspire us very much is how you were able to go beyond your comfort zone as a musician, as an MP, and you're not talking about saving Uganda and bringing Uganda to the level that everyone would want it to be. My question is, what is your message to the young people like us from the continent who have been fortunate enough to come to such places and to have exposure and experiences that most people from our place, most people from Nairobi, most people from Lusaka cannot dream of? What is your message to us as the young people? And where do you see Africa going forward as we try to bring changes, as we try to make young people the agents of change for the continent? Thanks.
Thank you very much, my Kenyan brother. Kindly send my greetings to all the Kenyan friends and family. They are amazing people. Now, what's my message to the young people of Africa? Since you are young people, I would say, we are the continent, we are the future, we are the change we badly need. We are the youngest population in the world, we stand a chance. We are the leaders of the future, and the future is today. If we only come together, we can change our destiny. Let's come together, all of us. Let's think together. Let's find solutions together as the young people of Africa. Nobody else is going to turn around our plight but ourselves. You know, most of the great leaders, the great people that contributed massively to their countries, they did it in their prime. We shall never be young again. This is our time. There's a great guy called Franz Fanon. He said every generation must discover its mission and then betray it or pursue it. Now, the challenge is upon us, me, you, and every other young person of Africa.
Yeah, so I just want to follow up. So I think kind of as there's an understanding education is bad, healthcare is crappy. I guess what I wanted to get a sense from you is sort of specifically in a Bobi Wine presidency, let's say pick an area like university education. Where do you invest? What do you do differently? Or say pick an area in healthcare like maternal health. What are you doing about it, and where is the money to actually say provide access to drugs? Coming from what sort of investments are you making? I think that's more really the question I'm asking. I think for most Ugandans my age, it's pretty clear that education is crappy, that you don't have access to drugs. The real question is like, what exactly would you be doing? What sorts of plans do you have in place? What would the Bobi Wine healthcare plan, for instance, look like in this at a high level in any area that you feel strongly about? That's what I'm asking.
Sure, thank you. Every time I interact with my friends who are professors at university, who work at university, they take more than a day breaking down the solutions, which I'm not going to get so deep into because I'm not a technocrat in the education system. But I want it to be better, and I know making it better is financing it and supervising how all those beautiful ideas are implemented. It will take people like you coming from Yale. I will pay you well and supervise you and make sure you turn our healthcare system around. The same thing we shall do in the hospitals. Man, I'm only a ghetto child. I know that it affects my people when we have a rotten healthcare system. So all I want is a revamped healthcare system. And we have the professionals, only that they leave our country because they are not paid well. You notice that our doctors are always striking because of poor pay. And the military and very, very useless things are taking the bigger part of the budget. Let us finance it and supervise it, and it's going to be turned around.
Next question. Yes.
My name is Boris and I'm from Rwanda. And I have to ask two questions. The first one is, so we've seen the video, and as some of us might know, for Museveni to get in power, there had to be violence involved. Even though the people wanted change, there still had to be violence. So in this case, even though people want change, what would make you think that there won't be violence involved? Or if you will be involved, how do you envision this going so that the country is not at high stake? And my second question is that some of us might know there have been some tensions between Uganda and Rwanda. And my question is, how, if you're in the parliament, but if you get in power, even right now, what are your visions regarding the relationship between Rwanda and other countries? I'm talking about other countries all over the world.
Thank you very much. My brother from Rwanda, Mezute. Yeah, it freaks out everybody to imagine, especially in Uganda, that we've never had a peaceful transfer of power. All leaders have bombed their way into power, and they've been bombed out of power. And in many cases, it kind of destroys the hope of a peaceful transition. But I want to point out a few examples. Where we are in America, there was so much oppression. People like Dr. Martin Luther King gave us a very good example of non-violent struggle. The great Mandela used non-violent struggle, although there was an element of violence there. But let me give you real life and real-time examples. Let us look at dictators that have fallen in the past. For example, Yahya Jammeh of the Gambia, who was voted out. Bouteflika of Algeria, he was kicked out by people power, unarmed citizens. And very recently, Museveni's very close friend, Omar el-Bashir, who is a field marshal, not just a general, but a field marshal in the army, who are the much more powerful army than Museveni, he has been kicked out by the power of the people, and interestingly, led by women. So it is really possible to use non-violence, especially in this time and age, to kick out a dictatorship. And that's exactly what we are going to do. And you're going to see it work in Uganda like it has worked everywhere else. People always joke that if the Gambia did it, if Algeria did it, if Sudan did it, then we can also did it. Yeah. And about the relationship of Uganda and Rwanda, if the leaders are willing to adhere to international rules, if the leaders are willing to respect each other, if the leaders are willing to work as part people, then the relationship will be good. Ugandans and Rwandese are brothers and sisters. Hey, my wife comes from Rwanda. Did you know that? So those are my in-laws, man. As soon as I'm in power, everything's gonna be alright.
Yes, this side, yes. Yes?
So I'm Jerry. I'm out of Nigeria. So I'm very excited about huge challenges Museveni. I wish you all success. But the interesting thing is that Museveni was a youth like you when he pursued 2 bush wars to force Gambian voting out when the peaceful process did not work. We have seen how removal by peace or protests of local leaders in North Africa have led to instability instead of peace and development. Kiza, BCG, who you've talked about here, have not been able to get Museveni out by peaceful means. You personally have been arrested and rearrested since you joined partisan politics. So my question to you, the first one is, what will make a peaceful process resolution break? What's going to break that? And 2, will non-peaceful process ever be used as a means to keep Museveni out? And then the third one is, I would like you to assure Ugandans here that you will do what you have said, what you say you will do, and not become like Museveni down the line.
Thank you very much. The first question is very interesting. President Museveni, when he was my age, he used violence, not once, but twice. And I'm advocating for non-violence. I'm advocating for non-violence because violence does not make it any better. Violence concentrates power in the hands of those that have the weapons and are willing to use them mercilessly. And we don't believe in that. We believe in empowering the people. The same people, if empowered, will make sure there's no other dictatorship, because we are transferring the power from the guns to the people. And that is why we believe in non-violence. And it's just less than 30 minutes ago that I gave examples of non-violent movements. Yes, while I know that some revolutions have caused instability, but that is where violence is involved. We have examples of countries that have used non-violence and now are stable. And yes, whether violence or non-violence, it's important for us to continuously be vigilant, because the transformation of a country is not an event, it's not a one-day thing, it is continuous, it is empowering the people, and that people will hold everybody else accountable. Now, you ask whether, you ask me to give an assurance to the people, not the people of Uganda, but the people of the world, that I'm not going to become another Museveni. I believe that it is not supposed to be me that gives that assurance, because I'm only a human being, I'm only flesh and blood, and people change their words every now and then. President Museveni, when he was my age, I believe he was even much more eloquent than I am, because he was an intellectual. I'm only from the ghettos of Kamosha. What guarantees that I don't become a Museveni is to empower people right from the time when we are struggling. We believe with my team that we should empower institutions and not individuals. Gone are the days when we should have another all-knowing leader and other all-godly aura character. Because once one individual claims that he's the one that liberates and that has liberated the nation, then he is going to have that sense of entitlement, and he's not going to listen to other people. But once a people liberate themselves, then those people always reserve the ability and confidence to kick out anybody that tries to step on their rights. So that is why we believe that we must liberate ourselves as a people, as a nation. And once we achieve that as a nation, no single individual is going to be more powerful than all of us as a nation.
My name is Shelby. I'm from Connecticut. I saw an article on Time Magazine about how you're fearful for your safety leading up to the coming election. And also from the documentary that we saw earlier, it seems that you and your persona as Bobi Wine have become a symbol of resistance in both the Ugandan population. The question is, how do you plan to make sure that this movement is more than you as an individual, and that if you aren't in the position to lead or when you leave power eventually, that this sort of like movement of hope and resistance and good governance can continue without you as an individual in place?
Sure, thank you very much. Myself and a few other colleagues are the ones that are at Yale today. But this movement has great leaders, many of them more qualified and more talented than myself. They are there and we bank on them. We rely on them like they rely on me. We are each other's teachers, we are each other's sources of motivation and inspiration. So it is not just about me, it is all of us. We have great ladies that are very intelligent. We have young men that are very resourceful. So it is very many of us. It is not just me. And yes, we don't believe in individual supremacy. We believe in sharing these ideas. Whatever I'm telling you are not just my words. It's just a representation of what we talk about, of what we believe, and of what we are pursuing as a generation.
So interesting, you're being asked to bring a nonviolent revolution. Whereas America and China, they came to prominence through violence, right? And now this generation being told be nonviolent, which is a good thing for lives. But when it's right in the street, it's kind of interesting. Yes, sir.
Hi, thank you for being here. My name is Sam, I'm from Zimbabwe, and you approached change from many different angles throughout your life, and I'm interested in what idea or ideas, if any, have changed for you about how you see revolution or political transformation happening as you move from being a musician and an advocate and an activist to being a politician. How do you see change occurring? How is that idea transformed?
Well, I just want to make sure I got your question right. You're asking how my perspective of change has transformed, or how my approach of change has transformed over the years.
How your perspective of change has transformed, yes.
Yes. Initially, like I said, I was an artist, and yes, I was, causing change through my lyrics, through visiting schools, through casual interaction. Every now and then. However, like I said, that change was active but pretty slow, and I thought that I could take it a notch higher from talking about issues passively through music, because many times whenever I talked about the oppression and social injustices, I was dismissed as another hooligan, and that's why I took it a step higher to get into parliament and be able to articulate those issues on a formal and official platform, that is the Parliament of Uganda. However, since the Parliament itself is in the pocket of the President, and so are the courts of law, I thought that because we had the mandate and support of the people, we would take it even a notch higher and vie for the presidency, because according to the law, the president has so much power, and if I became president, I'll be able to change so much. However, it is my advice and word to all the people out there that anybody can, approach change from any possible way. The ladies, the gentlemen, the young, the old. For as long as you have people that you communicate to, for as long as you have any moral authority, it could be formal or informal, you can use it in the way you deem possible, for as long as the change is positive. I don't want to claim to have the blueprint of advocating for change, but I believe anybody that sees positivity can advocate for that positivity and indeed achieve it.
Yes. Hi. I'm South Sudanese, but I was born in Uganda. I'm a Choli. So I go to the law school here. And in the law school, we like constitutions, we like rules, because it's the guiding principle of any government. But in Uganda, it seems as if the constitution changes as much as the season. And I'm wondering what mechanisms you're going to implement to ensure that Parliament is held accountable to the Constitution, you're held accountable to the Constitution, and that the people can trust the Constitution.
Thank you very much. Well, one of the first things that we want to do is to return the rule of law. Respect for the law. Today, in Uganda, President Museveni is literally the law, and the constitution is more like a table in the living room which he moves if he wants to pass in that practical, real spot. We must change that. We must have independence of the judiciary and the legislature. The parliament must be empowered, because today the parliament has been reduced to just a rubber stamp of President Museveni's interests. We must, once we empower the three arms of government and we ensure their independence, we will be starting a journey that will be, will see us to the world that we want to live in. And yes, we want to restore our constitution. Today, our constitution has no term limits, and yes, there's no limit to the age. So the President Museveni literally has a blank check to rule for life. And every time the leaders have no stops. Every time those that hold power have no checks, then they can do anything they want to do, however unjust it is. So we want to fix that.
Next question? Yes.
My name is Carlos. I'm a first year at Yale. You mentioned strengthening institutions. I was wondering if you would expand on how you decentralize some of the powers of institutions, specifically the presidency. So would you be willing to commit to specific term limits or other limits on the power of the presidency to make sure that after your time, the institution doesn't become too empowered once again?
Thank you very much. I don't think the institutions can be too empowered because they're supposed to be powerful anyway to be able to hold all the individuals, all the citizens accountable. If the law is strong, then we can guarantee that everybody is equal before and under the law. So it's not only the three arms of government, but even the other government institutions, the police, for example, it has a law that establishes it, that it must follow. Police must not play politics, but today you will find a police officer beating me simply because I disagree with the president. You're going to find a military general campaigning for the president and indeed threatening to kill those that don't support the president. So once we empower those institutions, they can hold anybody accountable, anybody that steps beyond their mandate, anybody that dares to abuse the law. Yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Valentina. I'm from Germany, and I wanted to ask, how do you envision the relations you would like to have Uganda with the European Union or the European countries? I mean, what is things that you would like to see changed?
Thank you. Uganda has historically had good relationships with the European Union, and I'm thankful to our development partners because they supported us pretty much whenever we need that support. However, I'm envisioning a more stronger and more moral relationship, not only with the European Union, but with all development partners. Like I said, our relationship should be mainly based on the values that we share as human beings, not only for business. And indeed, that relationship should be for the benefit of the people of Uganda, just like it is for the people of those countries that we relate with. It should not be a president's club. It should not be a leader's club. Whatever is done should be for the benefit of the people of Uganda. I appreciate the United States and the European Union under quite a number of development partners that have dared to speak out in relation to human rights and the rule of law. And actually that explains why President Museveni now is not very comfortable having bilateral agreements and dealings with the West. And he's channeling mainly to the East and going to China because, I mean, he'd rather have people that don't talk their noses in his business. He'd rather have people that are doing business with him and don't question him or lecture him, like he likes to mention, about human rights and the rule of law.
Next question? Yes.
Hi, I'm Joshua from Peace Center, Uganda. I want to thank you for coming and speaking to everyone today. I wanted to know, going forward, how to cross beyond their music, how to cross the cultural lines and empower people around ideas of like preventing teenage pregnancy, also improving the food stream and agriculture in the country for local and community level.
Thank you very much. Besides empowering the law and observing the rule of law, we must stamp out corruption because Uganda has very beautiful laws, very strong, I won't say strong, but very good laws that protect children, that protect women, that protect different diverse communities. Unfortunately, the levels of corruption are sickening that, all these are not observed, and indeed even the budgets that we put to help our children and all these other communities are swindled, and most of the corruption scandals and cases are normally traced up to the footstep, up to the doorstep of the president or his family. So once we stamp out that corruption, we'll be able to, have all these initiatives and NGOs that are focused on empowering those groups, working, and life will be better, I guess.
Thank you all for those questions. Thank you for being so generous with your time and providing such expansive answers. One day you may be president, but right now I'd like to invite my favorite president up to give you that.